Workday, where I lead the GTM Tech Solutions and also the product owner of AEP and AJO B2B. I'm also a current Adobe AEP champion. Co-hosting with me today is Namasha. She's a user group program manager from Adobe. We've got a fantastic lineup of industry experts joining us to share what they are seeing in the field. We'll kick things off with Abdul from Qualcomm, who will dive into measuring what truly matters in the era of agentic customer experiences. And then Praveen from Smart Europe will walk us through privacy first personalization. And finally, Hector from Interbank on how Interbank scaled multiple in-app use cases. So we will leave time for Q&A and also a quick closeout at the end with a short survey to gather your feedback. It's genuinely valuable for helping us to like measure and improve this program. I'm also going to flash the QR code right here. I know some of you might drop at the half of the hour, so if you have a moment, please scan it whenever you can. Now, before we get going, with the World Cup kicking off in just a few hours, I couldn't resist an icebreaker for our speakers. So who are you rooting for this World Cup? And is this your heart team or actually they will win team? I'll go with you, Abdul.
Thank you for that, Radhika. Really appreciate it. And it's a pleasure to be with everybody today. I'm excited to talk about AEP, AI, and soccer. Couldn't think of a better set of topics to talk with you guys today. And in terms of the teams that I'm rooting for, I'm rooting for Spain, Morocco, and also the US because I obviously live here and I want them to be successful. But my heart is telling me that Spain will probably win it all just because of the amount of talent that they have and the progression that they've been making on the world stage and in soccer. So those are my thoughts in terms of like teams I'm rooting for or who I think is going to win.
Love it. How about you, Praveen?
Excellent. So thanks again for the opportunity and nice introduction. Yeah, me based out of Germany, that's the team I would be rooting for. And I do have a soft corner for the England as well, because that's where my journey started. So I'm hoping one of the two teams will pick this time. And I hope I give best to both the countries. I hope they'll make it one of them, basically. So that would be my wish and prediction as well.
Awesome. How about you, Hector?
I'm glad to be here with you, other leaders, and this fantastic audience. In this time, I'm rooting for Portugal. I'm usually more analytical with my decisions, but this time I'm just following with Cristiano Ronaldo. Since this is likely his last World Cup, I'm here is with him, and I will cheer in that team all the way.
Love it, love it. And on that note, the timing couldn't be more perfect because Abdul has built his entire session around this beautiful game. So, Abdul, I will kick off the ball to you and take us from possessions to goals. The floor is yours.
Thank you for that introduction again, Radhika. And Hector, yeah, I can appreciate you wanting to see Cristiano on the world stage one more time. We'll all be tuning in to him and another legend, Messi, to see how they do. But yeah, as the world tunes into the opening whistle of the World Cup that starts in less than 2 hours from now, we're stepping into our own pitch, which has a lot of AI players. And now the real scoreboard is lighting up with business results. How are these agents performing? And are they actually driving business results? We're moving past the ChatGPT days of trials and things like that and trying different things. And we want to actually now turn our attention towards how are we driving business results, because that's what our business leaders are expecting. On to the next slide. So the focus here is that we're trying to drive best-in-class customer experiences, but we know as practitioners, as leaders in our space, we are looking for different ways to improve how we deliver experiences. So let me just tell you a little bit about me and who I represent. So I work for Qualcomm. I'm the leader for audiences and experiences. I manage the CDP, CJA, and Target. So my key focus is how do I drive efficiency with AI across these different platforms that I manage to deliver audiences and experiences at scale, and look for opportunities for me to improve my operations on the back end. At the same time, how do I improve those experiences that I'm delivering to the customer, because that's the ultimate goal. So when we are talking about where we're at today from traditional marketing and the CX world that we are operating in today, the new environment, leadership is no longer asking, hey, did it save time? Are those prompts creating some efficiencies for you and what have you? We're moving beyond that. So it's efficiency, it's business value, it's a bunch of 3 different prongs in terms of value opportunity that you want to think about. And I'll dive into that a little bit more. And the shift is changing towards like, can we trust these platforms? Are we getting the right experiences out of these platforms? Are we getting the right results? And what's causing this? The maturity of the AI models. They have progressed immensely. So has the end users. So that's another thing that we have to talk about, the end users and how they use AI platforms. A lot of people have moved from like, hey, I'm using an AI platform like a Google search. We have to move beyond that. We have to be prescriptive, and we have to have some sort of guardrails or framework with how we prompt. And overall, I think people have moved towards better prompting, and we can continue to talk about how better prompting will help you get more out of the capabilities and the results that you're looking to drive. Let's go move forward to the next slide. So with that, I would like to think of like how you drive performance and measurement based on 3 layers. Are you driving business impact? That's the ultimate top line and bottom line value, or the value that we're looking to drive. Are we creating customer value? And then at the other piece, are we uncovering operational efficiency? So from my perspective and the work that I've been doing with Qualcomm is that we've been digging into using these agents and figuring out different ways to improve how we work with the marketing team and drive results for our customers to deliver better customer experiences. So from a goals opportunity or business impact, we're looking at the audience agent in terms of like, can you give us more information in terms of how our audiences are performing, and how can we use those audiences to drive a bigger business impact? With the audience insights agent, the audience insights agent is progressing in terms of its capabilities and how we use it as an organization, from going from reactionary to hopefully moving towards the predictive, proactive insights that we would get for us to uncover chances or opportunities. And we are also moving the organization in that way. And that's why we have stood up CJA, because we wanted to create that nimbleness in terms of like uncovering the insights and using those insights for decision making and acting on those decisions before we miss that opportunity, because we know the window for us to create a customer experience is very finite based on where they're at in their customer journeys. So we have to be very proactive, and using the AI capabilities to uncover audience insights proactively and automating some of those capabilities will help us get there. And then finally, a data engineering agent, something that we've been playing around with and looking to uncover value with and use more. One value opportunity here is that proactively uncovering issues with the AI agent telling us, hey, there's something wrong with how the data has been ingested. There's some errors with some of the fields that were ingested. Therefore, the data quality has some issues. And we'll talk about data quality and underpinnings of things that you need to make sure are set up so that you using AI in the right way. With it comes the data quality, and the other piece is the data governance layer, which we'll talk about a little bit in the upcoming slides. So those are some of the examples in terms of how you would think in terms of the values based on these, the value that you're creating when you're using AI and delivering best-in-class agentic experiences, and the different buckets in terms of the ways that you can measure value for your business and how you can continue to drive that value for your organization. On to the next slide. So much like in soccer, everybody sees what's happening in terms of the performance within the 90 minutes of the game. When you're watching you tune into the game, just like the game you're going to be tuning into later. with Mexico and South Africa kicking off the World Cup, you'll see what's happening. You'll see the elevated performance and how these players are performing on the field. But that doesn't happen without any sort of practice or any work or effort put in to this work to showcase what they're able to do without doing the things that are happening behind the scenes. And for us, that means a couple of different things. Data quality. So in order for you to be able to use AI, data quality has to be there, and you have to be certain that the data that you're pulling, the data that you're pushing in, and the data that you're using is of the utmost data quality. So with that, you want to make sure, is your data tagged properly? Can you identify? Can you learn the results that you're expecting? Do you have all the data for you to have the right profile coverage? We're always looking to add more data sets to have a more holistic, complete perspective in terms of the audiences and the profiles that we have. Are you collecting all that data? That's another question that we're asking. And from a tactics perspective, so decision quality. So now thinking about the AI platform that you're using and the results that you're getting back. Are you getting the right results back when you're based on the prompts that you're sharing? Do you have to manually step in as a human in the loop and make corrections, make adjustments once you automate certain workflows with agentic and things like that? So these are some of the things that you need to think about before you go ahead and start running with AI and become a high performer during the 90 minutes on the pitch. And another thing is that, are you improving the workflows? Are the workflows more reliable? Are they faster? Because the reason why you want to move faster is we know that customer signals and customer journeys can change in a second. So automating some of those workflows for us to respond and for us to present the right experiences has to be faster because it's table stakes. That's what all of your competitors are doing. So we need to be more agile and faster in terms of how we respond to our customers. So that way we're setting up the right automations and the right journeys so that we can deliver those best-in-class experiences. So with that being said, data foundation is critical for us to be successful with agentic customer experiences and delivering value there. On to the next slide. So with that, we talked about the data quality and how important it is. The other piece that should complement how leaders are looking at using AI and scaling and delivering better agentic experiences for customers, we need to make sure that we are measuring consistency with the AI agents that we're using. Are they on brand, setting the right business context? With that, you can do that with the Adobe agents by setting the right business context and telling it, these are the guardrails that I want you to operate in. This is my brand messaging, and this is the things that I want out so it's relevant to my business. How many times are we intervening? The platforms are performing, the agents are performing much better than ever. So we need to set the right layers in terms of intervention, making sure that we step in before we get the wrong results and it hurts our business and it impacts the customer experiences. And then from that, you also want to set some guardrails in terms of measurement. Can you audit these decisions? Are you getting reliable decisions over time? Are the results improving consistently over time? Those are some of the things that you need to think about and look at the big picture. Besides, when you're operating in a very tactical manner, like, is this working for now? So as leaders, as practitioners, these are some of the things that we need to think about in terms of the bigger picture. How can we scale customer agentic experiences? We need to think about the data and the governance layer and set the right layers. That way, before the team starts running and starts misusing it, these things are set up correctly. On to the next slide. And in terms of winning the big tournament, just like in soccer, the ultimate goal is that you want to deliver these best-in-class experiences and you want to stand out from the crowd. So in soccer, through performance and excellence, you want to eventually get to the trophy and hoist that trophy at the very end so you can win the entire tournament. But that doesn't happen by just showing up and just doing whatever, or learning from how your approach from game to game and understanding the tactics from game to game, what was successful, what was not successful, and taking those lessons learned to the next game, so that way you can improve on your performance. So the same case with using agentic AI and using the AI capabilities that you have in your organization. You want to start with a couple of use cases, understand how are these use cases working. Maybe you want to start with like a small cohort group of marketing personnel on your team, in terms of like, hey, use the data, use the audience insights agent. Let me know if it's working in terms of use cases that you're looking to drive. If you're looking to analyze your business, pre-campaign planning, post-campaign optimization, try with a couple of use cases before you roll out these capabilities and get more users into CJA, AEP, what have you, and see what they're thinking, how they're interacting with those agents. Analyze what worked and didn't work. Get input from them. Get input from your marketers as you're looking to democratize the use of these agents across the organization to non-technical folks. Understand from them their experiences with using whatever platform that you're looking for them to use, whether if it's integrated through Copilot or if you're using another UI in terms of how you're interacting with with Adobe agents. Capture their input in terms of what's working and what's not working. Learn from those lessons, make adjustments, and from that, improve the results before you start rolling it out. And with that, we have the data governance layer set, and we also have the right controls and permissions, so that way they're not randomly creating audiences or things like that and activating hastily. So with the right governance layers and this sort of approach, you take the lessons learned, improve your performance over time. Lo and behold, you and your team can be successful and be hoisting a trophy and talking a big story in terms of to your leaders, hey, we were able to drive business value and business outcomes. And just like whatever team that would be winning the World Cup, they would show up on that stage and say like, hey, we finally did it. We were able to win the trophy and we're able to be successful. I hope that made sense in terms of what I was able to share with you guys. I'm open for questions at the end of the session. I'll pass it over to you, Radhika.
Thank you, Abdul. Really appreciate it. I don't see any questions in the chat. I'm going to hand it over to Praveen to walk us through privacy first personalization.
Absolutely. Thank you. Abdul, I think the main takeaway from your presentation is the strong data foundation is the prerequisite to run any kind of agentic AI. Right. Having said that, you also kind of opened a point. The data governance also plays a role for this strong data foundation, right? Yeah. Thanks for today. My name is Praveen. I'm with Smart Europe, based out of Germany, Munich, but my office is in Stuttgart, so it's a bit of a travel. I have, as part of the Smart engagement, we have the complete Adobe Experience cloud solutions stack. I work with all the solutions on a daily basis to see what best returns we can get to the Smart in terms of great customer experiences, uplifting in the lead acquisition, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, topic for today is basically focused on the privacy and personalization. Radhika, if you can just move to the next slide for me. That would be the brief agenda. Let's see what is the change in the new privacy landscape, right? And how does this is because of the change where we have to focus, which is basically first-party, data, for instance. What are the strategies involved? I can also give some use cases with respect to personalization, right? And the key takeaways at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Radhika. Now, if you see, this is the present landscape, what we have. We have a deprecation of the third-party cookies, right? Which means the trend is focusing towards the first party, for example, because there's not much return on investments happening on the third party, for instance, right? The consent regulations and then the penalty risk is mostly towards how the governance is becoming more strict on a daily basis, especially to the brands, for example. If you look from the customer experience perspective, customer would like to understand, what kind of data, they are giving up. They would like to have a complete control of this. So if you see the landscape, there is a shift. Third party is kind of sinking, which is already sunk, I suppose. Which means for us as a brand, as marketeers, we have to focus more on the first party data, how we can leverage. This also ties back to what exactly the user is willing to give, for example. So this is the shift in the landscape, at least it is what is our experience. Next slide, please, Radhika. Now that there is a shift in the landscape towards the first party and as well as the customer, focused, data collection per se. There is a good framework or the governance architecture within the AEP which gives the opportunity to do so. For example, how exactly the data can be used. Okay, within our organization, we do a kind of omni-channel engagement, which means that we pass on the information to the destinations, social media platforms, for example. Of course, everything is customers with the customer consent, of course. And also, we also used email as a channels for our engagements, for example. So all these different channels has a different consent collections or the acceptance from the user, for instance. Okay, Adobe does gives as part of the architecture different labels. So, they call it as C1 contractual labels. I is basically personal identifier labels, and S is mostly sensitive labels. If I may just give you the example, contractual labels would be: don't send the data to the social media, for example, right? To the social media platform, for example, Facebook, right? I labels would be a simple PII data, first name, last name, email, for example, right? And the sensitive label could be a kind of geolocations, So within the AEP, within the data sets or within the attributes of the profile, we can set this specific labels, right? And these specific labels enforces where exactly they can be used in which destination, whether it is email is okay, but the same label will not allow you to use the same thing to share the information with the social media platforms. So it's very well established and enforced. Again, how do we share this information across the omni-channel, email, ads on whatnot, for example, by way of creating the segments, for example. Okay. And the segments that we create based on the attributes. Every attribute has a label. So basically, this is a kind of a very good orchestration architectural framework within the AEP for the data governance, right? Next slide, please. Now, what is the data strategy? We've been talking shift from third party to the first party. What are we talking about in terms of the overall framework, for example? So left, if you see, this is the framework, what we have. As a user, as a marketer, as a brand owner, for example, the framework for me is how can I use this framework as part of the package, what I get from the AEP, for example, right? There's out-of-the-box XTM schemas. There's an edge network where the information is from the moment the consent is given, immediately passed on to the AEP, for example. So this is the framework which is available, okay? And how can I use this framework in order to collect the user's information, for example? Of course, first thing is consent acceptance, okay? As in the trend, what we have seen, 76 or 79% consumers are willing to exactly know where the data is used, okay? Which sense, we at Smart, we provide a lot of information saying that it's a kind of give and take, what exactly user is getting in terms of sharing the information, right? Even for me, if I have to, accept any consents, what is that I'm getting, right? So this is where we focus a lot, and we try to give as much experiences, offers, and all that stuff where user is willing to give the consent. The moment the user gives the consent, we will be able to stitch, manage the data within the AEP, so on and so forth, which is very much available for a good segmentation, which can be used across the multi-channels, for example. Okay. Next slide, please. So this is exactly, again, in the previous slide, we have spoken what is the framework available, how you collect the data, how you kind of, manage the data, for example. And here in this case, how exactly I use the data, for example, okay? If I may say two examples, within our websites, we have authenticated and non-authenticated users, for example. Not every visitor to our website is a user for us, is a subscriber for us, for example. So in this case, in the first case where there is no authentication is there, we use the ECID, which is a first-party data from our side, to do some kind of personalization, enabling the target, for example. The moment we have an authenticated user, the same ECID plus the CRM ID, they combine together based on basically the ID graph services within the AEP. We exactly know what the user first name is and what exactly the user has. The consent is given, what kind of browsing data he is looking at. Based on that, we also do a kind of personalization. So it goes both ways, right? This is exactly based on the first party data. And this is where exactly we are focusing on as well, okay? Next slide, please. Again, what exactly is the metrics? How it has evolved, what exactly is the metrics we were able to achieve. Simply put, as I mentioned, 79%, 76% want to know exactly how their data been used. The moment we give that transparency, there was a good uplift in the users giving the consents, for example. The moment users give the consent, there is a good amount of data where we can intelligently make a good segmentations and also prepare for a good personalization for the users. Consent propagation is nothing but it's a kind of edge network which exactly provided by the framework within the AEP itself, where the information is passed on to the AEP in a very less than 2 milliseconds, for example, right? Whether consent given or consent taken off, for example, everything is what you say shared with the AEP, which also reflects in the audience as well what we do. Since we have been using this framework very effectively, we have not had any policy violations as of today. It's completely zero. And because we have a good data from the users, the consent information, we were able to do a good segmentation, and we were able to do a kind of omni-channel personalization, both offline and online as well. This has impacted the user experiences pretty good, and the end result is there was also kind of engagement uplift with some X%. Of course, I don't want to name the numbers. There was a pretty good engagement uplift because of this, leveraging first-party data and the AEP, the overall consent management services. If you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, exactly. What is the key takeaways? The cookie is deprecating. The other option, what we as a marketplace is only the first-party data. The AEP does provides a lot of functionalities, baked functionalities, if I may say so, which we can just use it, plug and play, and provide great experiences to the customers. Just one point, what I just is quite interesting for me is the point number 3, the first-party data versus third-party data, for example. In this case, the depth of a relationship beats the breadth of the reach, for example. So this is exactly what the first-party data gets. And the next slides, please. And I think with this, I briefly shared the insights, and I would like to conclude my presentation. But as Abdullah also mentioned, any questions I'm happy to take afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Praveen. I like the point on not the depth of the data versus the breadth of the data, which is very, very true. In this age of AI and everything, privacy is very important. Thank you. I am going to pass it on to Hector, and we'll keep the Q&A at the end.
Hello. Thank you, Radhika. And thank you, Praveen. It's very important that strategy in this context where privacy and consent matters a lot. But I will move out of data and more on the experience side of AEP and AAO. And I will exchange with you how you can scale in-app channel, what you can do with it besides just showing pop-ups, and how you can learn from us and our experience with that management and operational scale. So you help me with the next slide, Radhika, please. In this session, we first start how we beginning our journey with this in-app channel, how we scale, our learnings with that, and how we are turning things different with decisioning. So before we start, if you please help me with the next slide. I will talk to you a little about Interbank due to give you more context. Interbank is a bank. It's a Peruvian bank, and it's part of Intercorp, one of the biggest enterprise groups in the country. We have healthcare, retail, pharmacies, education, and a lot of different enterprise. But as an interbank, we have mostly 86% of our customers are digital, which means they don't go to branches, they don't even go to ATMs. They just experience their financial needs with the bank with our mobile app. So this channel is very important for us, and this started this in-app journey as well. So can you help me with the next slide? At the start, we began the in-app channel as a regular use cases, very traditional, use pop-ups, like product acquisition, as you can see in this image. Can you help me, please, Erika? And then loyalty initiatives, okay. And fraud prevention, which is are more of the same if you look at it. But in-app can be more than that. It's an HTML experience inside or in the front of your app. Yeah, we're creating this. Thank you. And as an HTML experience, you can add JavaScript, styles, and many more things that make this. You can make this more dynamic for our users without the need of app deployment or app releases or new versions or to prevent new versions on your app publisher. So this speed up a lot of things inside the organization when we share these findings with our UX and growth teams will help us a lot on the escalation part. And also you can use personalized data from AAP. The data you have from your CDP on AAP ingested, you can use it not only to show that value as a part of the communication itself, but also to make decisions on which part of the code I will show for these users, on how I structure my HTML, and make a very personalized use cases with that. And also you can manage the interactions of this on click displays to show where to storage and interaction from the users, where to close the in-app, and just play with that to capture data that the user is giving to you with this experience. So for example, is showing as a GIF. It's a survey, an NPS survey, when we capture how the user is dealing with our application, and also let us capture some text which travel as a feedback on AAO message feedback tables inside the platform, and we can analyze them afterwards. Another use case, if you help me, Radhika, with one more slide, please, is zero-party data, which is almost the same, but it's not data from like how is your experience with our app. It's how do you prefer us as an interbank to communicate with you. It captures the best channel, your preference of communications, and also captures data as a text. And also this helps us moving to our warehouse, dealing with that data, processing that, and going back that into AAO to make more robust experience for our users. And finally, I'm sorry that this is not a video or it's going to be very slowly for you. Is Wrap. Wrap is like year-end review, where after all the year that you have been experienced, how many transactions you did, how many points you earned as a reward system, where did you travel with us. So we show that as an Instagram experience, Instagram stories experience for our users, and this grow the digitalization for our users, and also improves the monthly active users from our digitalization objectives for our customers. So this is some examples. We have done many more cases like this, but this is some highlights I wanted to share. So what this channel is capable of. If you help me with the next slide, the next also. So these use cases or these innovative uses of in-app also grow the attention of business side. So a lot of teams started to, to deliver this experience to our client. So you have financial education use cases, fraud awareness, debt collection, fraud offer, cross-sell, and many, many, many more use cases that you can imagine we can deliver for our users. But what this translates for our client perspective, we have 3 emails per day and up to 15 per week in some cases. I think it was 40 and 50% for our users experience this. And when we look back on our insight on our operation model, we found that we have 360 live in-apps at one point of time, spread out over 15 screens and operated by 7 different teams. So this was the start point to go do a deeper analysis of what are we delivering for our clients, understanding that more, and started to look at alternatives to improve this. So you help me with the next slide, Radhika. This is what we found. This is the highlights of what we found. First, understanding our customer perspective is critical. So when you go into a mobile application of a financial service as a bank, probably you want to do a transaction. You want to do a payment on a store. You just want to deal with it and move on to your life. You are not there for experience, or maybe the time when you are doing this is not led you to experience more than that. You want to finalize this transaction operation. So there we need to think which journeys our client are living that moment to decide if this is a journey we want to impact with our in-apps right now, or this is preferably not to touch them because they are doing something very critical for them at that point of time. Second, channel capacity and also customer attention windows are finite. You can give a lot of experience of them. You can show 3 in-apps per day to them and expect them to have the same engagement all the way. So we have to prioritize this experience based on what will be most valuable for our clients, and also set up a governance limit inside our operation to handle this and have some governance into it. And finally, the operational model must evolve with channel maturity. Okay, you need to set up these operating models as you're growing. Define some constraints, limitations, playbooks to handle the experience of your clients. And very quickly, if you are a developer and looking at this and how I can perform this, I have 3 quick insights to you. Be careful with the weight of your HTML. Keep it in under 50 megabytes or less to don't screw up the load times of the application. Then test your experience on multiple operating systems and devices. It matters a lot. Every operating system handles that web views very differently. And validate your tracking. What are you doing at the code level? Be very specific with that, so you are not missing or not also oversaturating that tracking streaming ingestion into AP. So let's move on to what we did to solve this very quickly. We kind of did a new governance model. First, we have predefined components. As a content strategy journeys, we have the limit of how many in-apps a user can see on the weekly level, on how to handle also the daily limit we set up. The digital segment, who controls, who can look at an in-app or not. And then a ranking method who prioritizes the experience that the user will see this day or at this time, at this point of time. And this translated that we can have one live in-app that is the same for us, but behind the scenes is prioritizing the most relevant experience for every client. And this what this translates also, we could use frequency controls. You have to set up experience guidelines for this with our help of business, UX, and growth teams. And finally, if you help me with the next slide, this is only possible with experience decisioning, which is IO Unity Optimizer decisioning capability that let you manage offer catalog, let you set up eligibility rules to select which profile are able to see every offer, and then let you set up how can you rank them to select the best offer of and every point of time. So this is needed. This is a principal enabler for the previous model that I shared with you. And this is it. I hope you like this. And let's go to the Q&A, Federica. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, everyone. I would like to open the floor for any questions. Meanwhile, please also take the survey. Any questions from anyone?
Great job on the presentation, Hector. I learned a couple of things as far as testing and what have you. We don't use apps right now, but I think there's a lot of opportunity in the app channel and to deliver those awesome experiences.
Yeah, it's a thank you.
So is it app is a kind of go-to tool used a lot in Peru, Hector? Why not email channels, for example? Or
well, it has higher engagement with our users because they are living a more interactive experience, like an email or a push notification, which we also do. We have a lot of channels on our portfolio, but mobile engagement is very high. It has to be managed well to not oversaturate your users, but has a very low potential because as an inbound channel, you have others, call-based experience, mobile messaging. Also, you can do something with a website that you presented in your use case. But your strategy has to take control of this inbound channel because they are very valuable for our customer and have less cost for the enterprise also because it's your channel. Mm-hmm. It's not something you depend on.
See, I understand from our app itself, because anything what we wanted to do, the size of the app grows, thus the performance of the app goes down, basically, right? Mm-hmm. I think one of the reason you had to do a trade-off between heavy in-app messages to actual app functionalities, basically, right? I think this is something we've experienced ourselves.
Yeah, you have to be very careful with that. Why we go to new in-apps? It's because you can pilot an experience faster. Okay, you can deliver kind of time to market or time to value faster, and then translate that into a proper development for your application. Mm-hmm. So you can start playing with things before going down to a formal development with your mobile teams that requires development, release cycles, publishing the application on the store, which takes more time also.
How did you figure out the breaking point with HTML? I think you said 50 megabytes, a lot of testing, or how did you?
Testing, learnings, and life, I think, because we let our growth experiment a lot.
Yeah.
And at some point of time, the development at 200 kilobytes or megabytes in-app, which take 18 seconds to load. The user doesn't experience this. This all happens on the backend. But let's say that the in-app was meant to show on the homepage of the app, but it takes 18 seconds to load, and the user was on another point of the life. So the in-app showed, and it was kind of, this is showing up for nowhere. No, this was showed from the home, but it takes 18 seconds to be pressed or displayed to the user. So
That's not good. Yeah.
Well, that's so good, but if you think this is robust enough that you didn't interrupt the experience of the client, but
Right.
it also showed on a inappropriate time because it's not one meant to do that. So
Right.
you can see it as a learning.
Hector, one question from my side. So since the app is heavily used, so you also used, I suppose, the mobile SDK for all the data collection for the app related?
Yeah. We have to transition from analytics tags to a mobile SDK tags. It was also another wonderful journey we did at the start.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has also to connect with your presentation. It also has some consent SDK to let the tracking, to enable the tracking or not enable the tracking of data. So, and also you can do all the dual configurations all in the backend of AP
Right.
to handle the data uses.
Excellent insights, Hector. Pretty good, because this is the channel mostly, at least in my opinion, where I work, this is kind of underrated, for example, but you guys use heavily this, brilliant.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone else? Okay, I think we can conclude our session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today, and thank you for the awesome presenters for bringing in their valuable insights and learnings and sharing it with us today. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Enjoy the World
Thank
Cup.
you.
It's been a
Bye.
pleasure. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye, everybody.